Hey, hi everybody. Welcome back from lunch. And hi to everybody in the Dixon room and hi to everybody else in the live stream. I just wanted to introduce our next speaker. It's time for Giuliana's talk. Guess what? It's Giuliana's very first conference talk also.
Hey everyone. I hope you all had a great lunch. Thanks for coming back and listening to my talk. I'm Giuliana. Please excuse the pun in the title. I do work for Atlassian, so yeah. This talk, I have to give a bit of a disclaimer at the start. Please do not actually do what I'm going to teach you because then I may lose my job. And I like my job, so I'd really like to keep it. So don't do it unless it's research. Maybe then give it a go, but that's all right. This is what you should do instead. The premium version in particular would be great, but yeah, or enterprise, either one, it's great. So a little bit about me. This is kind of how I got, a very brief overview, how I got into security. At school, I kind of like math, so I looked at, what careers can you get if you like math? Turns out, not many that are math related. So I went to a thing called GPN, Girls Programming Network. Woo! Yeah, woo! And I tried some coding there, it looked pretty fun. So I went to UNSW, and I was like, wow, this actually is pretty fun. And then I went to IAG, not as fun, not a corporate gal. Yeah, so then I ended up at Atlassian, which is where I am now, and I am a pen tester in a quite small pen testing team, but I really like it there. So what do we do? Security testing or pen testing at Atlassian. We are not professional pirates. We don't do this as our day job, but you will do it if you onboard into my team as one of your very first activities. Why would you learn how to crack Jira? There's a bunch of reasons, and we'll get into that today when I show you how to do it. So we do one type of testing really at Atlassian, and it's the white box kind. So if you haven't heard of these terms before, black box pen testing refers to when you test a system and you don't have access to the code, the underlying infrastructure, the docs, nothing like that. A lot of pen tests are in this style. The white box type we do at Atlassian, we're very lucky because we're internal pen testers. We are friends with all the engineers. We have access to all their code, their documentation, so we can do testing in a very focused and, I guess, particular way. Okay, so in terms of what happens when you give Jira your money, and I'm specifically talking about Jira Server here. There's two types of Jira, the original OG old school Jira Server and the cloud stuff that you buy on the website these days. We're going to be pirating the old school version today, which you can still buy and use today, and most corporates, still elect to have like Jira Server running. So yeah, what happens when you give Jira your money? It spits you out something like this, which is we call a license, right? It looks like gibberish here. We don't really know what it is, so we're going to have to do a bit of investigations about how it works, and also how does Jira turn this, that's the Jira factory, that's Atlassian HQ. How does it go into that, some meaningful blob of JSON that actually tells you what type of license it is, right? How many users are allowed to use the Jira instance, who it belongs to. How does that all happen, right? Well, hopefully it doesn't look like that. Yeah, we're going to try and figure out what it actually looks like. So hands up if you played Operation before as a kid. Yeah, it's a fun game. So we've got this like fake license here, and we want to put the fake license into a very particular spot of Jira. And if you've ever used Jira, you know it is exceptionally huge for not much reason, but it is that way. So we're going to have to dig through and find where in Jira is this license code that we really care about as well. So this is something you can all follow along with, and I'll have it in the notes that will be shared after the presentation as well. You can download Jira source from this website right here. Jira Data Center download archives, right? You can download the latest version or whatever version you like. I've seen that comes up when you download it, the video. And then we can run Jira. So now that you have it downloaded, you can run it in a variety of different ways. This is my favorite way of running it because it's a simple command. You can also just download this tool from the website. The part I've circled here, xdebug, that allows you to open a debugging port for Jira so that you can connect your favorite debugger, whatever that may be. And you can very easily step through the code that way, the code that you've downloaded from the site. So you can run that command. It'll run on localhost, log in with the admin creds that it so graciously gives you. And then you can navigate to the license page and you'll see that license key that looked very similar to the one on the first slide. This is a free trial license that they give you. You can see at the top there it says your Jira core trial will expire in 3 days. We don't want that to happen. We want Jira forever and ever because we love Jira. Jira is the best team management software. Yay! So play around with it. That's what good pen testers do, right? The first thing you might do is just play around with input, see what happens. If you change a letter in the license key to make it invalid, Jira will hang like this, and it does just hang. It doesn't give you an error, because why would we do that? Multi-million-dollar company, why would we do that? So yeah, it just hangs. It's like, why is it hanging? Just a quick little inspect element, just have a little look-see at what's going on there, and the entire stack trace gets printed. That's what we love to do, yeah. Okay, so we have a little bit of a look at that, and we see the very first line there. That looks really like a function, right? Check and get license text looks something like we'd care about as hackers trying to trick the system into accepting a fake license. That's something that looks interesting. But how do we get there, right? Like, we've just downloaded this zip file, unpacked it, and like, how do we find that check and get license text? So we will firstly load up your favorite code editor, whatever that is. I'm using IntelliJ here because it's good with Java stuff, I was told. And I'm going to attach a debugger. And that's just the same line that was in the running Jira command. So I'm just attaching a debugger. That's just going to help me find the code that I care about. And then have a look through. When you download the zip file, it's just a bunch of jar files. If I have a look through for Atlassian extras, which is in the string from the previous slide, then I find an Atlassian extras jar. Jar files are just zip files, so you can just unzip them. And then you can see all the files inside of the jar. And that one there looks suspiciously like the file that was in the stack trace earlier. So maybe we should, have a look at that, right? It's the same one. Now, if you didn't have the stack trace, if you were dealing with some other server-like product, you can also just grep for license or something like that, which is what I did initially when I didn't know that there was the error, because I thought, with a company of 10,000 people, we wouldn't be doing that. But, that's all right. So, yeah, you can grep for it otherwise. But the class file, that's not going to help you very much, right? You're not going to be able to read that code. What you need to do instead is you need to decompile it. You need to take that .class file, turn it into a Java file. How do we do that? There's so many decompilers on the internet, but thankfully IntelliJ has one built in, so you don't need to do anything extra there. You just load the Atlassian extras library as a class, or if you wanted to, you could load every single jar file as a class if you wanted to do the grepping. And yeah, we can load it up. And now we want to look for that. Oh, something happened there. Yeah. Okay, yeah, cool. So we just want to search for that method, right? Inside of this now decompiled .java file. Okay, so good old Command F or Control F, whatever you prefer, check and get, found it in the code, right? What do we do now? We think this could be relevant, but what if it's not actually the function we care about, right? Like, you're hacking this thing, you've got the code, but how do they connect? How do you know that what you're looking at is actually what's getting triggered by the front end, right? Well, that's where the debugger comes in handy, because you can set breakpoints at where you suspect the code's getting executed, and you'll know instantly if the debugger hits that point, that's the code you care about, right? So as a side note, at Atlassian, when we do pen testing, we love debuggers. They're great, because when we suspect that code is suspicious, then we'll be able to set a breakpoint somewhere and find where in the actual Jira front end is that code getting triggered, so we know where to put our injection and all of the hacky stuff that we do. So we'll go and set a breakpoint at any line inside of that method that you like or where it gets called. I just picked this one here because if you have a look at it, key manager, get instance verify. The verify section is the thing that I really care about because that's probably doing something that checks whether or not Atlassian thinks that the license is legitimate, right? All the other lines, it looks like gibberish Java, which a lot of it is, but it's just unpacking and doing stuff to load up the license that it gets fed. So we still want that bit because ideally, we don't want to just entirely rewrite the license logic. We want to be able to give Jira a license that we can customize the JSON, where we can say like 10,000 users, enterprise edition, but we just don't have the thing that Atlassian's signing the signature with, right? So we just want to bypass that check. Now there's so many different ways you can do this. You don't have to do it that way. You could rewrite the entire license unpacking logic if you wanted, but pen testers are lazy. We just want to do it in the easiest way possible, right? So that ideally this means changing just like 1 or 2 lines of code, right? We don't want to do much. So I'm going to set my breakpoint here at the .verify. And this process, it might take a while. It might take multiple breakpoints being set everywhere. You might not trigger the right one, but ideally we want to find the place where that exception gets raised, which is stopping me from actually loading an invalid license, right? So let's do a very quick demo of that, because I realize some people here might not have used a debugger before, and they might not have seen how this actually in real life works. So all I've done here is you can see I've got localhost, I've got Jira running, it's loaded up, and I'm on the license page. Then the license key down here, you can just hit this tiny little edit button, and then you can do what I did in the other slides, where you just change something to see if you can trigger a breakpoint, and you can hit update license. This is where we pray. Yep, okay. And you've got a bunch of stuff showing up down here. Something that a debugger does, which is super useful, is it tells you the current state of the application. So all the values of the current variables that you're looking at. And that can also, from an engineering point of view, help you debug what's going wrong with your app, but also from a pen testing point of view, tell you what's happening to the input in real time, right? So that's pretty cool. What I want to do is I want to step into that verify method and see what's going on. So I'm going to hit step into, select, IntelliJ will graciously say, which one do you want to step into? Verify, that will be good. And then we have a look at this code. Now, we don't really care about getting the public key, checking the keys and all, that's all fine. Get the signature, initialize it, update it. This looks like it's doing something weird, signature.verify. Okay, we'll step over that still. Here's the exception. This is where it gets thrown, right? So we've found that line, return signature.verify, that's the one causing the exception right now. So that's the one that's probably triggering the signature verification, right? So interesting, right? The debuggers helped us there figure out what's exactly raising that exception. What if we just do that? What if? What if I'm not, allegedly, hypothetically, if we did that, yay, right? So just to recap, right? what we did at the start, install and decompile Jira. That was the first step. We experimented with input to kind of see what's going on. You know, we got a stack trace error there. It might be different with different applications. Set some breakpoints, and that's the iterative process. That might take you a bit of time. Then you find the component that you care about, and then you can edit the component logic. And these sparkle bits I've left out because I've been told that I need to, otherwise, you know, you can hack Jira. But recompiling Jira, there's a bunch of tools that recompile stuff online, and it's built in with IntelliJ supposedly. And then, so how do you generate a license without a signature? Now, supposedly, there's GitHub repos out there called things like Crack Jira that have a Python script that will really just generate, it just encodes the JSON like base 64 and stuff. So I didn't put them out there. Those resources are out there though, and it might be like the first Google result. So if you wanted to, just if you could, maybe, but don't. So, yeah, okay, so conclusion, why did we do all that? Just, not really. Yeah, it is though, God. It's a crime, don't do it. But the takeaway is to hack like an engineer, right? A lot of you guys do some tinkering on the side, you write code. But these engineers that work at these software companies, they've got some awesome tools that they've spent ages setting up that help them write code on a day-to-day basis. Every time I see pen testers go into an org, they never go to use the tools that the engineers use, things like debuggers and local environments, because they're set in their ways. And I know it takes a bit more time sometimes to, you know, set up things locally and set up debuggers, but you will find so many more bugs that way because that's how the environment's been set up to find bugs in the first place, right? So don't be scared, even when the repos can be massive like Jira. These tools are there to help you through, just like they're there to help the software engineers. And all of you have the ability to do it. So why don't you give it a go? So yeah, that's it. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.